Good morning and welcome. My name is Bret Newbury, and I am one of a team of worship associates that have the honor of welcoming you today and serving South Church, along with our interim minister, Reverend Susan Suchocki Brown, and the director of Lifespan Ministry, Kirsten Hunter, and all the behind-the-scenes staff that make worship services possible. Thank you for joining us this Sunday morning, whether you are visiting South Church for the first time, are returning after an absence, attend as often as possible, or are joining us online. Please join us on the portico after worship for social hour. After the children's story this morning, all kids are welcome to attend our amazing religious education classes downstairs. The music today is graciously offered by Jonny Peiffer, Susan Adams, Jennifer Leyden, and the South Church Choir. The chancel flowers have been given by Cindy Brown. It is now time for some announcements.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kirsten Hunter, the Director of Lifespan Ministries here at South Church. I have a couple announcements, and Lauren Katz is going to join me with a few as well. There is a new 4-week meditation offering happening here at church. You can read about it in your order of service. They're asking for pre-registration. It begins on May 26th, Thursday evenings, and it's being led by folks from the Portsmouth Buddhist Center. It's great for anyone who is just beginning, or if you are a long-time practitioner of meditation, you're welcome to join. And there is a change in the Aging with Grace schedule for this summer, so please note that change in the order of service on the first page as opposed to in the ongoing groups section. Aging with Grace will continue through the summer, but they're meeting at a slightly different time and place. Lauren?
Thank you. I'm Lauren Katz. You might think I'm here for the Pocket Garden Tour, but I have other news first. I'm also a Learning Associate, and the Learning Associates are having a gathering that will be on Zoom on May 25th from 7 to 8 p.m. to discuss General Assembly. And General Assembly is the annual meeting of Unitarian Universalist churches and the Unitarian Universalist Association that happens yearly. And whether you were considering attending GA, as we call it, in person or on Zoom, or maybe even more importantly, you just want to know how South Church, we are connected to a community of Unitarian Universalists, then this discussion is a great opportunity. The code's in the order of service. It'll also be posted on Facebook, call the office, whatever. We'd love to see you there. Next hat, yes, I am here for the Pocket Garden Tour, and there will be sign-ups outside. The Pocket Garden Tour is June 24th, 25th. It is well underway and getting super excited. We're very excited about it, and we need cookies for the first time in several years, and so we'd love you to sign up for baking. We also really need Pocket Garden Tour hosts. We used to call them sitters, especially Saturday afternoon in particular, and we are selling tickets because we'd love to see you all on the tour. So come see our table later.
I don't know, I was very successful.
As we light our chalice here, we invite people watching at home to light a candle or chalice of their own. We light this chalice today with these words from Maya Angelou. I have learned that you shouldn't go through life with a catcher's mitt on both hands. You need to be able to throw something back. And now please stand if you are able and join me in reciting the mission statement printed in your order of service or shown on your screen for those of you joining us online. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people and inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community.
Flower communion service we celebrate today originated in 1923 by Dr. Norbert Chapek, founder of the modern Unitarian movement in Czechoslovakia. On the last Sunday before the summer recess of the Unitarian Church, Unitaria, its name in Prague, all the children and adults participated in this colorful ritual which gives a concrete expression to the human affirming principles of our liberal religious faith. And may the service that we participate in today help us remember the principles and the longings for which he died. The flower communion was held each year thereafter, even during the year and a half of his imprisonment in a German concentration camp. At times, a line of people waiting to get into the church for this first communion service would reach as far back as probably the Portsmouth Rockingham Club and even further. Each person entered with the flower, placed it in a vase, and each person left with a different flower, as you will. And for those of you watching at home, we want you to be able to participate as well. So we invite you to write in the chat, what flower would you bring to add to this virtual bouquet and why? An example would be, I would add a sprig of lilac because it is so lovely and has this great fragrance. And then during the time when we are choosing a flower, we ask you to write in the chat, what flower would you take from the bouquet? I would choose a pansy, because its smiley face reminds me of the happiness that I feel here. During the flower communion services, the congregation would sing one of the few surviving hymns of the 100 or more songs that Reverend Chapek wrote. Its words give just a hint of the character of this man. And I hope those words inspire us to aid and support others during their times of sorrow, as we too know they will be there for us. So let these words from his hymn begin our connection to our Unitarian forebears in Eastern Europe and this traditional ceremony. And I want to tell you that this scarf was hand-woven in Transylvania. It seemed fitting to wear that today. And Beth, I wonder if you would bring up the last of the flowers to us too. And these are his words. Kindle the flame of love where people's sorrows reign. Tell the happy story of those who overcame sorrow. Smell the flowers of faith, breathe the air of love. Open your soul to the streaming rays of the sun. Join your heart of solace with those who suffer and send your warm sympathy to your fellow. Enough tears run down the face, enough hearts are wounded. Now let the eyes shine with joy. Someone is joining us in a great community. Someone is calling us to love. And just as the unique and individual spirit shines through each one of these flowers, we too are blessed by the unique and unlimited spirit of each one of you here. And the flowers were placed in the vase as a symbol of our freedom to choose our religion. And during this service, in a little while, you will choose a flower that represents the unity and the beauty of this religious community and the spirit of acceptance and of gifting to one another. Welcome to this worship service.
I first came to South Church during a ministerial transition. My wife Angela had been here in her childhood, so she knew a bit about being a UU, but I knew nothing. I'd been raised without any strong church ties and kind of liked it that way. But we found ourselves at a bit of a crossroads, needing a new social group, one that better fit our ideals, and Angela knew just where to go. So, as I said, it was a transitional time in the church when we arrived. The sermon, delivered by one of the two interim ministers, made me feel like I could give my Sunday mornings to be part of this. So I jumped in with both feet. That very day, I was helping move mattresses in Carnan House to support the church's Seacoast Family Promise commitment. I took the Journey to Membership class starting the next week, and we called our new settled minister shortly after I signed the book. From there, I joined, then later led, the now reorganized into several other committees, so it no longer exists, the Adult Spiritual Enrichment Group, and we offered some wonderful classes. Before I turn this into some sort of South Church resume, I do have a point. Getting closer to that point is that I recognized the first time I set foot in this building how much it has to offer me, and I hope it has to offer all of you. It is a real treasure, the sense of community, the calming of prayer, the messages, and sometimes challenges of the wonderful sermons. But this does not exist in a vacuum. It is us as a community reinforcing our ideals, taking care of the needs, and being part of what makes this church go. Like the flowers that you give and receive today, you are likely to not contribute the same action or deed you receive in return. The reciprocal relationship makes the whole community work smoothly. It is more of a pay-it-forward model. The church is here doing all sorts of wonderful things for the members, visitors, and the community, hopefully doing something wonderful for you here today. Pay that forward. Volunteer. Help a community member in need. Join a committee. Help in the classrooms, whatever. Spread good vibes, and the church, the community, and ultimately the world will be a better place. Now please rise and body your spirit for our opening hymn. Spring has unwrapped the flowers, number 63 in the gray hymnal.
Thank you. As you open up to 63, Spring has now unwrapped the flowers. It may be brand new to you. So we're going to actually sing it to a tune that you will know by heart. So please join us as we sing Spring has now unwrapped the flowers to the tune of Good King Wenceslas.
Life in all her growing powers, morning to you. Yes. We used to have a time at the start of church where everybody would greet each other. And I remember Edith Pearson used to sit in this front row, and during that time she would go down the aisle singing good morning to you and kissing people on the cheek, whether she knew them or not. And I remember thinking, that's what I want to be when I grow up. And I was only about 30 at the time, so I still had a long way to go, but I'm getting there. And that is not why I'm standing here. I would like to invite all the kids and anyone else into this fragrant space. Come make it cozy with me. Yeah, I know some of you want to and feel like you shouldn't, but come up. Great. So, like Reverend Susan said, we're having a special day today with flower communion. And this is a UU tradition that is just about 100 years old. And so kids and anyone else, any kids at heart who came up, get to have a front row seat to this ceremony. So I wanted to give you a little explanation of what will happen, because she's going to use the original words. And again, it's 100 years old, so I may not even understand the whole words when she's talking about it. So I wanted to give you a little background before we start. So what she'll do is she'll do a prayer. That's the first part. And then there will be consecration of the flowers. That's a big word, consecration. But what it kind of means is to make these flowers sacred. And sacred is another kind of confusing word, but really anything can be sacred. And it's when we decide to recognize, ooh, this is something really important and special that we can connect to right now. And so that's what we'll do. She'll consecrate these flowers, and we'll all go, yes, we feel a connection to this. And when all that is going on, I'd like to invite you to think about, if you brought a flower, think about the flower you brought. If you didn't bring one, think about any one flower. And think about how a single flower is beautiful on its own. So beautiful, just one flower. You could spend a lot of time thinking of all the ways it's beautiful. But then, when you add it in with a whole lot of other kinds of flowers, what happens? It changes in a way, doesn't it? It's a whole different kind of beauty, because each of these flowers has their own kind of beauty, and when you put them all together, it's like overwhelming beauty. And we're a lot like that. Each of us comes here with our own special kinds of beauty, our own different traits, personalities, everything. And then when you put us all in this room, look around, and in this space that is also connected to people at home and in the larger community, that's a whole other kind of beauty. And we are each a part of that. So I would just invite you to think about that when this is all going on. And then after the consecration of flowers, Reverend Susan will invite us to come select a flower that is different from the one you brought. And if you didn't bring a flower, you are still invited to come select any flower you want, because there is an abundance. And church is like that too. Sometimes we feel like we're not bringing a whole lot, and that's okay, because at any point there's someone who has a little extra. So whether you brought a flower or not, please come choose something that feels beautiful for you. And so when she invites people, the kids get to go first. It's the benefit of coming up here. And so you children go first, and then I get to go right after the kids. And so watch me, when I take my flower, that's our signal to go downstairs. So once you have your flower, then I'll get my flower, and then we'll walk down like usual. But we won't have our regular music, so I wanted to tell you about that. Right, and then after we go down, all the non-kids are gonna come up the side aisles, and they get to choose their flowers, and then they'll go back to their seats. Okay, so let's see how this goes.
So this is a revised translation from the original language, which I probably couldn't say, nor could you understand. But this is his original words. In the name of Providence, which implants the seed in the future of the flowers and in our hearts, the longing for people to live in harmony. In the name of the highest in whom we move and who makes the mother and father, the brother and sister, the lover and loner what they are. In the name of sages and great religious leaders who sacrifice their lives to hasten the coming of the age of mutual respect, let us renew our resolution sincerely to be brothers and sisters, regardless of any kind of bar which estranges us from each other. In this holy resolve, may we be strengthened, knowing that we are God's family, that one Spirit, the Spirit of love, unites us, and endeavor for a more perfect and more joyful life. And he would say, Amen. And he would say, my prayer is to bless these flowers and to bless each and every one of you, the beauty, the glory of nature, and the bounty of everything coming together to build one blessed community. And now we will share in the consecration of the flowers, a blessing, making the ordinary special. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love.
May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and the gifts, to be one in desire and affection and devotion to the holy will.
May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike.
May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts.
May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us need to make us work in this world. These flowers are now blessed. May they bless you. And I invite you now to come down the outside, go up the middle, take a flower, and if someone needs help and doesn't want to come down, please raise your hand. Bret and I will bring a flower to you. And we are blessed to have Jen sing with us this morning. And she's going to sing one of the hymns that Reverend Capek wrote. It is number 8 in the hymnal if you want to see the words as well as to listen to them. May these flowers bless you, precious ones. We're so glad to have you in our midst.
raindrops are in the ocean deep and wide. Sunlight bounces off the ripples to the sky. What to give you, what to call you, who am I? I am empty, time flies from me, what is time? Dreams eternal, fears infernal haunt my mind. What to give you, what to call you, oh my God. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, take our hearts, take our breath and let our voices sing our parts. Take our hands and let us walk to shape our art. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, where are you? In the sky song, in the forest sounds your cry. What to give you, what to call you, what am I? Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, take our hearts, take our breath and let our voices sing our parts. Take our hands and let us work to shape our art.
You know, there are many happy days in the life of a congregation. And today we're glad to have the opportunity to be in person and to formally recognize those who have joined the congregation. Since 2019, there have been over 45 persons who have joined. Some have moved away, but 45 is an impressive number. During a COVID, during ministerial transitions, during all the things that happen. And what impresses me the most is that those joining did so not for who the minister was during this time, but they did so because of the love, the care, the joy, and the spirit of South Church. And that resilient spirit of not just survival, but of growth, nurture, stability, speaks volumes about this congregation. Signing the membership book is a significant expression of trust, respect, and commitment that expands the sum of our parts into a more powerful whole, and thus moves the world toward a greater good for all. I would invite Kirsten and Jenny Scease to come up here with me so that we may share some readings and recognize the new members. And Ginny?
Our new members made a decision to join a community committed to a search for truth. They have joined a congregation that stands for justice, knowing that achieving justice is often a long and challenging process. They have joined with a people who strive to live in loving relationship with one another, knowing we have a variety of religious and social understandings. These are not easy things.
You can stay. Oh, okay. This church holds no set creed upon which everyone agrees. What we do affirm is that we will be kind and generous with each other in our varied understandings of the spiritual life, and also that we will show compassion and caring for ourselves and for the world. And so, welcome our new members. If you are here, please rise. And please come forward to accept a gift as a symbol of our joy and love for your joining us.
And so, dear new members, here is what we expect of you. We expect you to be present on Sunday mornings, present at congregational meetings, present in the life of the community. We expect you to grow spiritually, to examine your life and its meanings for you and community, and to share these insights with others. We expect you to give of yourself in service to both the church and the larger community, and we expect you to participate in the stewardship process and support this church with your financial donation. Do you, the newest members of this congregation, freely accept these expectations of your membership? If so, respond by saying, "Yes, we do."
I would ask now for the new members to rise again so that we can acknowledge you. With every new member, we become a new congregation. We are grateful for the presence of each and every one of you, those who joined, whether it be 40 years ago or 4 months ago. And now I ask our members, do you welcome these people into membership, fully aware that as life is constantly changing, so too our congregation is constantly changing? And I invite you to respond by saying, "Yes, we do," and by giving a round of applause to our new members.
Yes, we do.
And we close with these words. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never seen, a place half remembered and half envisioned that we can only catch glimpses of from time to time. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open up to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength, and that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter, a circle of healing, a circle of friends, someplace we can be free, someplace where we can be loved. Blessed be, and amen.
It is now time for the offering. Time for us to help support all the good work and programs of this church. Donations may be made in person, online, by mailing a check to the 73 Court Street offices, or using the new Vanco app. During the month of May, our collection will be shared with the Joan G. Lovering Health Center. The Lovering Health Center is dedicated to providing all with confidential, comprehensive sexual and reproductive health information and services in a supportive environment. Please give as you are able. The offering will now be gratefully received.
So we're going to try something out with the response hymn today. So please join us in the call and response. You'll hear us sing part of the melody. Please sing it back to us, and please overpower us with your voices.
I invite us now just into a moment of prayerful reflection to give thanks for this day, for new members, for springtime, for the presence of one another, being in this sacred and holy place. I look out here and I see the flowers. It is so wonderful, and your voices, and the opportunity to recognize new members. It is a precious time when we come together. It is also a time when we wish to express joys or concerns, and I will invite you to come forward with your joy or concern, to light a candle. And if you would want to make sure that we know what's going on in your heart or mind, please take a moment and write it on the card that is in the back of your pew. And I would invite you to come forward, and we have 2 dishes so you can come up and not have to stand in line one behind the other, but to break into 2. So come down and then go back up the center. And know that you are never alone. We think of you. We care for you. May it be so. So I can imagine that each one of us here has something that we have long wanted to do that is still undone. It might be something like skydiving, or shaving your head, or taking cooking classes, or learning a new language. These are all good and exciting, and I'm sure you can add many of your own ideas to the mix. However, I am thinking of other things that would feed and nourish your soul, such as calling up a long-lost friend whom you loved and then lost contact with, or going back to school. I went back for my GED after 10 years out of high school. In fact, this past week, I went back to the community college I got my associate's degree from to deliver an invocation and a benediction, something I've been doing there since 1996. Maybe it would be making a commitment to yourself to learn to meditate and then setting aside time to do so. Or to take time to walk a labyrinth or sit outside under the stars and reconnect with the precious universe, or join a yoga group. There are no shortage of yoga teachers or studios around here. Or maybe it's to start a prayer journal, or maybe a group gathering with kindred souls. Any of those choices and more might be a way for you to fulfill your spiritual life more richly and more deeply. And no matter what you do, it is a way to celebrate your unique and special personality, and a way to make a commitment to some of your inner longings. Today, we celebrated the rich tradition of a flower communion, and it always reminds me of the unique and special personality of every person. I'm reminded of the irrepressible spirit of everyone, as Reverend Josiah Bartlett called it. And he was specifically speaking of Norbert Chapek, who was the founder of the Flower Communion and a Unitarian minister from Czechoslovakia. I'm going to speak of his life briefly, but first, let's think about our irrepressible spirits. You know, it's true that life does throw us curves and challenges, and has a way of consuming us with earthly matters. Sometimes I walk into the church building and I'm thinking about a meeting I had on Friday, and I'm wondering, am I going to connect with that person again during church? Or I think about the sound system, or COVID, and wonder, has it affected persons that I care about and their family? I think really mundane things. I need my robe back here. I took it for the graduation. It's in the back of my car. I need it back in here before my dog sheds all over it. Well, she doesn't shed, she's golden doodle, but you know what I mean. These minor distractions are simple examples of how our lives can get so sidetracked that we forget that it is our inner being, it is our inner spiritual being that needs attention. Now, I'm sure that months and years have gone by in your life too, and you suddenly have a moment where you say to yourself, what happened? Where'd the time go? How do I allow myself to get so busy that I forgot to take time for self-care, meditation, exercise, building, rebuilding, connecting with people, asking for forgiveness, or being forgiven, or caring for that inner me who is far more precious than those external distractions. And it is when I have deep conversations with others, when I talk with you after a sermon or at the door, when I see your happiness at the calling of Reverend Ellen, it is then that I remember all the ways that I need to get back to fulfill some earlier commitments and get on to dreaming big to accomplish some future goals. So what's bubbling inside of you that needs to be done? Today I think of that communion, that flower communion, as an act of commitment to a vision that brings deep meaning to life. And that service comes down through the years. And it is a reminder both of the fragility and the beauty of living and the struggles that surround us and have surrounded us forever. As we think of that flower communion, and particularly the minister Norbert Čapek, who created this ceremony, I'm reminded of his work in building a viable and vibrant Unitarian church in Czechoslovakia, and how he went back there during really dangerous time during the buildup to World War II. He had been in the United States gathering money and materials to build his church in Prague, and the war was heating up, and he could have stayed here. He had friends, he had family that were around here, and he could have stayed here and played it safe. But instead, his longing was to go back, to create that congregation. He knew of us. He had been here during World War I, and he knew about the perils of going back during a time of war, but he longed to go back. He was a very interesting man. He was born June 3rd, 1870. As I said, he came to America during World War I. He lived in New Jersey, and interestingly enough, his children began attending a religious education program, and that was when he discovered Unitarianism with his third wife. He had 11 children with 3 wives. 2 of those wives died at young ages. Imagine that, 1870, 11 kids. But he had his third wife, his soulmate, Maisha. And they learned about Unitarianism, and they determined to bring that religion back to Prague. They began to meet with many congregations in America, with the president of the American Unitarian Association, and with the American Czech groups to raise enough money to return to the homeland, begin that congregation that would bring hope, love, and religious tolerance and freedom to those who wanted to develop that strength of character and that positive, creative attitude of living. He could have stayed, but he did not, because in his mind, the Unitarian religion supported the primacy of the individual, was built on life experiences and surviving and thriving in spite of life experiences, and that it was a practical religion that taught how to live in the here and now. And so he returned. In 1939, at age 70, after spending more than a year in a concentration camp for listening to forbidden programs, he was killed in Dachau concentration camp. His death notice said he died of a cerebral or brain hemorrhage, and it is commonly believed that he was used in human experiments that the concentration camp doctors conducted. And he was one of the 3-4 million innocent persons exterminated during World War II. And his family never lost hope. In fact, it wasn't until 1942 that they finally allowed a memorial service to be held for him. They kept holding out hope that he had escaped. And that leads us to this time of year, and around his birthday, it has become traditional to hold a flower communion service. Leominster for over 20 years, and my home church of Gardner had an annual service, and I've heard that there had been one here. And today we're bringing that practice back to honor the irrepressible spirit, the beauty of each individual, and recognize the longings in our heart to find ways to express our Unitarian Universalist faith. I hope that you will be able to do all that you can to nurture your irrepressible spirit and find ways that you want to fulfill your longings. Shave your head, go skydiving, learn a new language, call up an old friend. May it be so. Amen. And this hymn that we're going to sing is another one of his. color and fragrance.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our heart until we are together again.
It is time now to leave, to go out into the world. Go in love, be peace, find joy. Love this world into wellness. So be it.